Third part. Even Meg was surprised at how solid the hit felt. Actually, she'd not only driven her harpoon into Mr. Ulmer's massive barrel chest, but poked it all the way out through his back. With a mallet which looked to weigh 60 pounds still raised, the old man shuddered. Gnashing his teeth, he swung down with his right hand. The wind howled. Meg and D'Argent heard the sound of the massive iron ravaging the floor, just 10 feet behind them. The old man held that pose for a while, and then he lifted his head and gave the two of them an innocent smile. His smile was so guileless, Meg had to wonder if there hadn't been some mistake. Mr. Ulmer touched a cow's finger to his upper lip. The cuspids that grew from his exposed gums were pernicious fangs. They'd been honed to rip into Meg's soft throat. It can't be. If you're a servant of the nobility, and I stabbed you right through the heart. Meg groaned, but D'Argent's hand grabbed hers and pulled her along after him. A milky fog covered the world. She ran with D'Argent. Her ears caught someone saying, "Meg." The call came from far off in the distance, and it was D'Argent's voice. Meg planted both feet firmly to stop. D'Argent stopped too. It finally dawned on the girl that the hand grasping hers was horribly cold and bony. The shadowy figure turned around. Just then, the fog flowed away. There was Auntie Mabel, bearing a pair of fangs. Meg. When the old woman tried to embrace her, Meg swung her to the right as hard as she could. The girl, in turn, was swung around as well. Her wrist was still in the old woman's grip, scattering the fog, and the two of them continued spinning in elegant circles. The old woman planted her feet and jerked the girl closer. Meg was pulled in by the tremendous strength of the vampire, and her soft throat was left exposed for the old woman's mouth. The wrinkled mouth snapped open wide, and then there was a cry of pain, and bright blood gushed out. Of course, neither belonged to Meg. Using all her might to escape the old woman's grip, Meg stared at something on the chest of her lurching attacker. A wooden harpoon was embedded in it. A harpoon the girl had drawn with her left hand while they were spinning in circles. Meg! There was the sound of footsteps running toward her through the fog, which then took the form of D'Argent. "You okay?" she asked. "More or less." "What about the old-timer?" "Damned if I know," the former teacher replied. "I just heard a voice that sounded like it was in pain. He was stabbed through the heart and he wasn't destroyed. What the hell kind of creatures were they turned into? Ageless and indestructible," D'Argent murmured. "Huh?" "The experiments carried out here were intended to turn humans into another form of life. I'm ageless, but not indestructible. Maybe the old man got the reverse. Indestructibility. The owner of a body that could take a stake through the heart and not be destroyed. That would be a true undead. A true Nosferatu." "Gah!" the old woman cried, turning toward them. "Her too," D'Argent exclaimed, eyes bulging. "No. That's where her lung would be." "I missed her heart," said Meg. "She's getting even wilder." The old woman seized the harpoon in her chest and yanked it out. When she slammed it against the floor, the pair broke into a run. Meg quickly halted and said, "No, this way." "How do you know?" "Never mind that. It's this way." Apparently D'Argent wasn't too sure of himself, so he said no more and started running. Meg's mind kept replaying the same question D'Argent had asked. How in blazes do I know where the exit is in all this fog? Just as the girl was about to turn her attention to the matter, she sensed a presence on the left. "Look out." Faster than Meg could say that, there was a dull thud of impact from the vicinity of D'Argent's head. Something warm flew at the girl's face, and though she dodged most of it with a speed that surprised even herself, some stuck to her right cheek. A mass of black came out of the fog. Ducking down so it passed right over her, Meg then sped over toward D'Argent. He lay some 20 to 25 feet away. He couldn't finish what he was saying, and Meg shut her eyes. Her nostrils prickled at the thick stench of blood. D'Argent was missing the right half of his face. "I'm just fine," he said feebly, through the half of his lips that remained. "At least, that's what I'm supposed to tell you. But I'm not so great. Looks like I won't have to go through my whole life saying, 'I don't want to grow old.' But this is no good. I don't want to die." Meg heaved a sigh. A great weight sat on her chest, and it was all she could do to fight back the tears. After all, wasn't she the one who dragged this man from a stable existence? The bounty hunters, Wesley. Why had she brought a curse on all of them? "Don't let it get to you," the man said. "More importantly, something's coming." Meg nodded and got to her feet. From head to toe she burned with sorrow and the rage it whipped up. Something black was approaching from the depths of the fog. "Step right up, come and get it," Meg said, her lips twisting. This wasn't her anger suppressing her fear, but rather an innate confidence in her own victory that raced throughout her body with her blood flow. Mr. Ulmer appeared out of nowhere. Meg's eyes bugged. The old man's face had gone beyond a look of agony and all the way to a rictus. His upper body was stained red, and a slender wooden harpoon was planted right in the middle of his chest. "Found you," the old man said. His right hand had been behind him, but now it rose, still gripping his mallet. As Meg stood poised for action, her ears caught a hard clang. The old man had dropped his weapon. His forefinger was aimed at Meg. Why, aren't you gonna fight?" The old man's lips held a smile that gave the girl chills. It was the kind they call death's grin. A smile, that evil, was the last thing you saw before they sent you to hell. "I've no intention of fighting, Meg. I've come to tell you something," said the old man, his teeth chattering and blood dripping from the corners of his mouth. "Tell me what?" Meg asked, a cloud of anxiety staking a black claim to her heart. There was no way it would be good news. The old man pointed to the harpoon with his left hand. "The instant you ran this through me, I knew. But you don't know. Know the most important thing. Thing is, Meg, Meg was about to shout at him to stop. She had the feeling she absolutely couldn't hear what he was going to say. Though she slapped her hands over her ears, her eyes never left the old man. Mr. Elmer tumbled forward and fell to the floor, but even seeing that didn't surprise the girl much because it all seemed so unreal, like she was watching a single frame from a silent movie. Even before she concluded the old man must have run out of power, his body had turned to ash. "Meg," Darjean called to her from down on the floor. She dropped to one knee beside him. "What did he want with you?" "I don't know." That was the only answer she could give. "Instead of killing you, he tried to tell you something. What could be so important?" "I really don't know." "Forget that. Can you stand?" "No." "Carry me on your back, please." "Sure thing." Meg swiftly put down the other knee and turned her back to Dargent. Up we go. With that, the man's arms looped around Meg's neck, and the two of them timed it so they tried to stand in unison. Dargent's breath struck the nape of her neck. Meg felt like she'd been touched with a piece of ice, and her body froze too. "Dargent. Not you too." "Sorry, Meg. That old man fed on me just now. I tried to hold it in, but when I saw your naked skin and felt the warmth of your body, that was it." Meg trembled. The lips had just touched the nape of her neck. "Meg," the former teacher said, and she felt his accursed mouth open. "No." Meg's elbow shot back. When some drunk had thrown his arms around her at a village festival years earlier, her reflexive action had been identical. The result also was the same. Dargent let out a low groan, and his hands came away from her. As Meg tried to dash away, a cold hand snared her ankle. She fell face down, but immediately twisted herself around so she was facing up. Dargent's face had crept to about thigh level on her. "Stop it." "It's no use, Meg," Dargent said. "I can't fight it. And you're out of harpoons, aren't you?" "Yeah, I'm out." Dargent crawled closer, his hand touching the swell of her breast. "But I do have something else," the girl cried. A blistering beam of light punched through Dargent's chest and at his back. Throwing the man's weight off her, Meg got to her feet and took aim with the hand of destruction. "Right. You still had that. But I thought you wouldn't use it." "It's best to be practical," Meg said even as she choked back something that was rising within her. "Hurry up and shoot." Half my heart still left. The world glowed. She could see clean through the 6-inch hole that had been opened in Dargent's chest. Black smoke mingled with the fog. Ordinarily I'd have vanished. Mustn't have been enough energy. Like me, that weapon's on its last legs. Hang in there. You can't die, right? How many times do we have to go over this before you get it right? I'm ageless, not indestructible. Whatever the case, you've got to survive. But we're through as a team." Dargent laughed. It was a light-hearted one. "You're a sweet kid. Strong, too. Be careful out there. The noble outside should be able to help you." "I'm so sorry," Meg said, wiping her tears. Pulling off the hand of destruction, she tossed it down by Dargent's side. "I'll leave that with you. You can finish yourself off, right?" Sure. Goodbye. Meg turned her back to him. Meg? Dargent called to her. She looked back. The barrel of the Hand of Destruction was trained on her. Dargent? She cried out in despair, and at the same time the weapon spit fire. Chapter 7, End.